What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I figured I'd have to make a follow-up video because the first video I did regarding the subject got a lot of comments, inbox messages. So, I want to give my opinions, let you know what I feel, and that's regarding Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Floyd Mayweather. Again, great fight. Looking forward to it. Two undefeated fighters, two fighters with something to prove. Season versus youth. Great fight, great matchup. Funny thing is, some people are complaining about the catch weight. And I'm not saying I'm a huge advocate for catch weights, but you got to put everything in perspective. Even at a 2 pound, look at everything with this fight, and the 2 pound catch weight, I think in this given situation is not a huge deal. As It's not as big of a deal as some people are making it. I feel people are trying to nitpick based on the situation, and some of the points you guys are bringing up are terrible, terrible comparisons and everything. So I figured I'd explore this topic. You guys can let me know what you think. Um, First of all, regarding the catch weight, I've heard both sides. I heard Mayweather, Team Mayweather, Mayweather's camp initiated the catch weight, but I've also heard Team Canelo initiated the catch weight. And realistically, you can make an argument for both. Mayweather, seeing how big Canelo is and seeing that he's a big puncher, maybe he said, I want to make this fight at a catch weight. I'm the one that calls the shots. I'm the money man, whatever. So I can see him extending an offer to Canelo to fight at a catch weight as opposed to the full 154. But it also makes sense for Team Canelo to have initiated it because Mayweather's trainer, his dad, Floyd Mayweather Sr., has been on various, you can YouTube it right now, he's been on various interviews, and he said this fight with Canelo and his son will not take place anywhere but welterweight. So, Team Canelo, since this is the fight they want, and they know they have a fan base, but they don't get to call all the shots because Mayweather is the person that they're trying to dethrone. He's the more established act. Team Canelo might have extended the offer for the catch weight to lure him in, and give him incentive to take the fight. Hey, this is a fight we could still, or this is a weight we could still make. 2 pounds is not going to affect us that much, and we still get the fight and the money that we want. Let's make the fight happen. So realistically, it could have gone either way. Some of you YouTube fans are crazy because you act as if you know for a fact Mayweather did it or Canelo did it. And realistically, who knows why the catch weight or who initiated the catch weight. What's done is done, and that's the terms for this fight. So I'm personally just happy that the fight is taking place and it didn't become a Mayweather Pacquiao Part 2, a fight that the fans clamored for that we never got to see. So let's explore the catch weight. I'm going to give you guys some examples. One comparison that I'm hearing, or statement that I'm hearing often, is that Pacquiao and Mayweather fight was supposed to happen, and Mayweather's hypocritical for downing Pacquiao for fighting at catch weights, and then he turns around and fights at a catch weight. Again, look at the individual circumstances and look at the situations. One, Canelo rehydrates an incredible amount. I don't think any of Pacquiao's opponents rehydrate to the same 170, 173 that Canelo does. That's one thing. And beyond that, even furthermore, catch weight. First of all, Pacquiao became branded as the catchweight king. Like if you Google it, Manny Pacquiao catchweight king, you'll pull up some hits, and that was based on a pattern or the recurring theme of fighting at catchweights. If Pacquiao fought one fight at a catchweight, maybe like even two, I don't think people would brand him the catchweight king. However, in the sport of boxing or any sport, based on the frequency of in which you do something or don't do something, that's when you start getting these labels. Tony Romo, Dallas Cowboys quarterback, they had a debate, is he an elite quarterback or not? The reason this is in discussion is because there have been pivotal moments, playoff moments, and pivotal moments to get to playoffs and that kind of thing, and he's let his team down, or he couldn't pull the trigger, he couldn't make that game-defining play like a Manning, Peyton Manning, or Eli Manning or whatnot. So now it's in question, but it's not based on one season he didn't do as expected. It's the frequency. It's him never really having that defining moment. Look at boxing. Victor Ortiz, he has the label, he's been branded a quitter. It's not because he did it one time, it's because multiple times he shows you that he has a quitter mentality. In the Maidana fight, in the Mayweather fight, he got frustrated and then he did a leaping headbutt. That's a quitter mentality because that's something that's going to cost you either points, possibly to get disqualified, and this is the biggest fight of your career. Look at the Lamont Peterson. One could make an argument that he quit in that fight because he was clearly defeating Peterson and he allowed Peterson back in that fight, and he rallied back to a draw. So you could argue that Victor Ortiz exhibited a quitter mentality in that fight too. So based on the recurrence of Victor Ortiz's actions, that's why people call him a quitter. He quit in the Josito fight when he got a broken jaw. Even before that, I think he got a stern warning for rabbit punching out of frustration. So all in all, these behaviors make people or lead people to believe that Victor Ortiz is a quitter and he's not mentally strong. He doesn't have the heart of a champion. Same thing with Pacquiao. He didn't fight one fight at a catchweight. He fought De La Hoya at a catchweight. He fought Cotto at a catchweight. He fought Marquez Part 3 at a catchweight. He fought Antonio Margarito at a catchweight. These are all catchweight fights. Before the Marquez 4 fight, they were looking for an opponent, and one of the candidates was a Cotto Part 2, Cotto rematch. And the reason that fight didn't get made is because, guess what? Pacquiao wanted to fight Miguel Cotto at a catchweight of 149 or 150, I believe, off the top of my head. And Cotto says, I'm done with the catchweight. I don't want to fight this fight at a catchweight if it's going to be at a catchweight. So, based on the recurrence and the reoccurring theme, that's why people call Pacquiao catchweight. Now, to try to compare this isolated instance with Mayweather, one fight, and say he's a hypocrite and basically he's doing the same thing as Pacquiao, he's not. If the next 4 fights to finish out his contract, if he fights them all at catchweights, then I would say, okay, he's a hypocrite because now he's clearly doing something that he outright belittled Pacquiao for. But off of one time, I mean, there's no comparison. Andre Ward fought, and it just shows you the level of disdain people have for Mayweather because Andre Ward fought Chad Dawson. Andre Ward is a respectable champion. A lot of people like him. He's definitely a lot more humble, less cocky than a Floyd Mayweather. Andre Ward fought Chad Dawson at a catchweight, and he looked spectacular in doing so. And people gave him props. People gave him credit. No one really said, oh, there's a couple people maybe, but a lot of people, the masses, didn't really complain about the catchweight. You look at history, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. versus Meldrick Taylor. Everyone knows that Chavez Sr. just beat Meldrick Taylor's ass. But if you put it in perspective, that fight was fought at what? A catchweight. That was fought, the 147-pound title was fought at 145, 2 pounds, just like Canelo versus Mayweather, 2 pounds. And nobody really says Chavez Sr. didn't beat Meldrick. Everyone just says he beat Meldrick Taylor's ass towards the end, and it was a good fight, and you give props to Chavez Sr. So it just shows you a lot of people just don't like Mayweather to the point where they're going to nitpick anything he does. Another thing, I don't know if you guys know this, but YouTube, you have a username, most of you guys, to log in, and you leave comments on my video, and I have a good memory, and I could click on your username, and it shows you the activity. I could see other recent comments that you left on other boxing videos, and it's funny because a lot of people who were complaining about that I've seen complaining about the Mayweather Canelo catchweight, they're big Pacquiao fans or even fans of Amir Khan. So it's just funny to me because again, Pacquiao has had multiple fights at a catchweight or fights where he had the advantage. I can think of off the top of my head, Timothy Bradley moved from 140 to 147 to challenge Pacquiao. Coming up, Brandon Rios is fighting Pacquiao. He's never fought at 147, but he's moving up 7 pounds to face Pacquiao for that opportunity. Yet they negotiated in the Mayweather-Canelo fight, and both camps agree that 152 is a legit weight for both, and people are complaining. So they're complaining about Canelo having to lose 2 pounds. They're not tripping that Mayweather has to come up 5 pounds. But you're okay with Pacquiao making Brandon Rios fight at 147, 7 pounds more than he's ever fought at. He's never fought at 147. I'm not talking about rehydration. I'm talking about actual weigh-in. and you're okay with that, and that's a great fight in your eyes, yet this 2 pound is the end of the world. So again, some of these stories don't add up. Look at Amir Khan. Another guy was just a huge Amir Khan fan. Guess what? Amir Khan's last fight was at a catchweight. He fought Julio Diaz, someone who in his last fight fought to a draw with Sean Porter. Julio Diaz was widely considered a fighter past his prime. Amir Khan also had home court advantage, or the hometown advantage. The fight took place in the UK, and Diaz gave him a run for his money and all he could handle, and that was a catchweight at 143. Even deeper than that, Amir Khan was initially, before the Diaz fight was signed, they were initially looking at a fight with Senchenko, who just re-retired Ricky Hatton at 147, and he refused to come down to 140 where Khan wanted the fight. Another fighter, Josito Lopez, that was another potential name that was thrown around. Josito just fought Canelo in his last fight at 154. He said he's not coming all the way down to 140 to fight Amir Khan, but he will fight at a catchweight of 143. And that wasn't good enough. They said they didn't want to fight Josito at 143, and then they turned around and fight Julio Diaz at 143. So the catchweight of 143 was good enough for Diaz, but it wasn't good enough for Josito Lopez. Maybe because Julio Diaz is, I guess, less feared, or maybe considered more past his prime. And this is all facts. You can go right now on YouTube. I think Concrete Jungle has the interview coming straight from Josito Lopez, who said Khan wanted to fight at 140, and he didn't accept it because he wasn't going from 154 to 143. So again, it's funny that people are complaining about this fight taking place with a 2 pound, with Canelo having to lose 2 pounds, but they're not bringing up the fact that Mayweather has to come up in weight, and he's fighting someone who can rehydrate and is generally a bigger person. But you're okay with Brandon Rios moving up 7 pounds to fight Pacquiao, or you're okay with Amir Khan not fighting Josecito at 143 or Senchenko at 143, and he fights Diaz at 143. So it's just funny and it's very ironic. Another thing that I'm hearing, some people are dumb enough to compare Antonio Margarito to Canelo. They're saying, hey, Pacquiao fought Antonio Margarito. Okay. So, to my knowledge, Antonio Margarito, correct me if I'm wrong, and please give me the link to the tail of the tape where Antonio Margarito has ever rehydrated to 170s, anything over 170. I don't think he's ever done that, and he's a pretty like lengthy, rangy, big framed fighter. And that was a fight for the vacant 154-pound title that was fought 4 pounds under the limit of 154 at 150 between Manny Pacquiao and Margarito. And that's not apples and apples to me. That's apples and oranges. There's no way you can compare Margarito and Canelo. The only thing that they have in common is the fact that they're both of Mexican descent. Other than that, they don't look alike. They don't fight alike. Margarito was 32 when he fought Pacquiao. Canelo's 22, so Canelo's 10 years younger. Canelo rehydrates to higher weights, and Canelo overall his style is completely different. He has underrated speed, whereas Margarito is slow as molasses. And people weren't complaining that Pacquiao fought for a title 4 pounds under the actual 154-pound limit. And I'm reading comments like that, and you're complaining about this 2 pounds with Canelo. So it's just very funny to me. And this is actually after Margarito got destroyed by Mosley in 2009. He fought Pacquiao a year later in 2010. So it's just clearly different. I mean, they're whole different circumstances. Margarito was an older fighter. And speaking of age, I don't think some of you guys understand and appreciate boxing. Like, a catchweight is a catchweight. I mean, there's no two ways about it. However, you got to look at the individual circumstance in each situation. It's like, if I murder someone at a club, but it's in self-defense, a murder is a murder. And you could argue like, oh, hey, murder is murder. But if you look at the individual circumstances, a murder is not like a premeditated murder because you want to get someone's life insurance policy and you're jealous of them, whatever the situation. To me, it's not the exact same as murdering someone in self-defense. So if you look at the catchweight situations, very different circumstances. People don't realize that in boxing, Canelo was 22 years of age. So the younger you are, the more you can do, the more flexibility you generally have to abuse your body. When I was in my early 20s, I could eat whatever the fuck I wanted. I could eat Jack in the Box and then for dinner eat Taco Bell. And I just had the metabolism to do it. And I never gained weight from it or anything. But as I get older, I have to be more conscious of what I eat because I will start packing on pounds if I just eat and eat and eat as reckless as I once did in my early 20s. And that comes with age. Same way the older people get, a lot of times your metabolism slows down and you got to work that much harder um, to lose the weight that might have been a little bit easier when you were younger. So Canelo, age 22, it allows him a lot more flexibility than an older fighter. Number two, Canelo hasn't really had a Gotti Ward moment, somebody who's really pushed him to the brink where he really had to dig in deep. He hasn't been in those type of wars. He had fights with like Alfonso Gomez where Gomez looked good for portions, but he hasn't had that Diego Corrales Castillo type of rough and tumble tug of war type of battle. So he doesn't have as much mileage on him. So if you look at like a Pacquiao versus Oscar De La Hoya's been in there with Floyd Mayweather, Bernard Hopkins, Chavez Sr. He's been in those wars. He's been in several fights with top level competitors. So he had a lot of mileage on him, and he was older. He was in his 30s. So by the time he fought Pacquiao, the catch weight probably did have more of an effect on him because he's an older fighter and a fighter who's has some wear and tear and mileage on his body versus Canelo, who's 22 years old and hasn't really had any big extreme wars that caused like any level of concern, I guess you could say, for any period of time. So you can't really compare certain situations like that in my eyes because Canelo's 22. Even if you look at Adrian Broner's mid 20s, he's definitely young enough to, in his next fight, move up from 135, bypass the 140-pound division, move straight to 147. And I guarantee you, if Broner decides, hey, at this weight, I'm not comfortable, I don't like the extra pounds, or I'm a lot slower at this weight, I want to move back down, I guarantee you he can probably move back down to 135 if he chooses, or move to 140, whether you believe so or not. I guarantee you, and I don't even know if he will stay at welterweight. We'll see, but he has more options just being young. He can do that to his body because of his age. Broner can move from 135 to 147 and then probably go back down with little to no effect. But then you look at other fighters like Roy Jones Jr., who did something that was unheard of and moved up to heavyweight. When he came back down, it took its toll. And he wasn't a fighter that was taking a lot of losses too. But the older you get, the older your body gets, the harder it is to bounce back. And I feel like this is common sense, but to some of you guys maybe it isn't. There's just a lot you could do. Even people who party, some people party hard in their 20s, and then they can't even imagine in their 30s or 35 partying as hard and staying up till 5 a.m. and having to be at work at 6 a.m. They can't do those same things that they did in their early 20s. So there's several examples I could throw out of how the older we get, the harder it is to do certain things or to justify doing certain things that we might have been able to do. And to me, I think Canelo's still young enough. He doesn't have mileage on his body to the point where him losing 2 pounds is going to cost him like some of you guys are claiming. Some of you guys are saying that he's going to be in Holocaust type shape or physically weight drained and emaciated and all kinds of shit. Like, if that's the case, if him losing an extra 2 pounds is going to do all that to him, then he's fighting in the wrong division because that clearly shows that his walking around weight must be something ridiculous. If him losing those extra 2 pounds at age 22 without the wars and without the extra mileage is going to cost him to be just the lethargic and horrendous and give him a horrendous performance. Even Chad Dawson, you look at Chad Dawson against Andre Ward, another fighter who's older than Canelo. He's also been in those rough and tumble affairs with Pascal, Bernard Hopkins, and he's had those tough fights. So it's a lot different when you have a younger fighter who hasn't really been that. So I don't think the 2 pounds is going to um, ultimately affect Canelo as much as some of you guys are making it out to be. And other than that, some people, it's just like I said, there's no way you can prove. When the Mayweather Pacquiao doesn't happen, people complain. People were saying Mayweather's afraid of Canelo. He's gonna duck him. He's a cherry picker. He's gonna fight someone easier like Amir Khan or Devin Alexander. Then he doesn't do it. Then you nitpick at the 2 pounds. Like I said, I'm just really happy the fight's taking place, and I just want to see it. I can't wait till September. That's really all I gotta say. But stop with the Pacquiao comparisons, because Pacquiao fighting like a multitude of fights at catchweights, definitely different than an isolated incident one time. Again, if Mayweather creates for the end of his legacy, he fights him at catchweights, then you could say, okay, he's a hypocrite. But you kill one person, they're not going to label you a serial killer. If you kill multiple people, they will. You're a serial killer now. Pacquiao is the catchweight king because of numerous occurrences. That's really all I got to say, guys. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video's Ego, signing off.